Well, so on that note, is it about fixing things in Cuba or bringing about new leadership or governance? What is it that you all want to see in Cuba?
I don't think it's fixing.
That government
Yeah,
is a repressive,
yeah.
violent dictatorship and regime. And I am sure that there are amazing leaders within Cuba that have tried for years. You saw Osvaldo Paya, who mysteriously died in an accident. Somehow everyone that has some kind of, begins to grow some kind of clout with the people disappears. Mysteriously, 7 generals have died in the last 3 weeks. Statistically, I don't know if that's a possibility. They haven't said if it was from COVID. They haven't said from what they've died. Who knows what's going on internally there? There's got to be some upheaval. But that government itself, I mean, they need to, it would be great if they made things better for the people, because I know that I was on the movie with Andy Garcia. We just wrapped last night. And we were hearing about a fish market in Cuba that all of a sudden it had everything, and they opened it up to the people. They had lobster, they had fish, where a week before the people had nothing, and then all of a sudden they're trying to, placate them with little bits of things like this food. Where was it a week before? The government, that government has had the biggest blockade on its people. They've created second-class citizens out of their own citizens. They can't go into the hotels. They're not allowed to enjoy the things that tourists can enjoy. They don't have, their pharmacies have no medicines, whereas the tourist ones have medicine. Tourist shops are packed with goods. They get paid in Cuban pesos or whatever the currency is, yet the things are being sold for dollars. If they exchange dollars that get sent, they get pesos in return, but they'd have to pay dollars for the goods. So I don't know if anything would be salvageable from that government at all. We certainly don't want a worse situation for the Cuban people. They've gone through hell the past 62 years, and it's just getting worse.
And they're asking for freedom, but they're not asking for food. They don't ask for anything else. Everybody's yelling free, libertad, libertad, freedom. I think happening that to Cuba. In many years, they tried to put a band-aid to fix things. This is not anymore. And what I'm extremely afraid, when they get desperate, they're going to open the country, and they're going to tell the families here to go and vote and pick up them. If it's going to become another bold lift, and that will be horrible for the people, for the United States. I think we need to act fast to be sure that you avoid that kind of problem, because that's what they usually do. Just when they have problems, they try to release. What is happening in Venezuela is horrible. What happened in Nicaragua, when it's happening in other countries, ready to, like we see a lot of things happening in Mexico now. I hope people learn from this regime that has been horrible. I mean, some of the story that the people will hear in the future, they're going to be totally crazy, because it's unexpected. I mean, it's unexpected. These kind of things that people didn't know. Now with the internet, we hear in the right timing, and I think this is going to be fantastic.
The youth have had it. They've had it. They don't have that romantic connection with the revolution. Fidel is no longer a big figurehead, which he would have been the first one coming out, because there have been attempts at protest before, which got squashed. Fidel would come out and squash it. And the reason that we can tell as Cubans, they disguise people as civilians, so that the world thinks that it's the people of Cuba that are, clamping down on protesters. But if you notice, they're wearing boots, and those boots are military, dress. And we notice these things, like when they would have 1 million people at the Plaza de la Revolucion manifesting. Everybody had signs, everybody had the same t-shirt. If you're in Cuba and you're at work, they give you this t-shirt, they put you on a bus, and if you refuse, you can get fired, you can get sanctioned, you can get arrested. So it looks to the world that everyone is supportive of this government, when in reality they were led like sheep, and they had to follow whatever they were told to do. And Cubans, we know of these things, and I know we speak very passionately, and people always thought that we were exaggerating. I have spent the past 4 decades of my life speaking to whoever would listen, because every time I would put out an album, especially the European press at the time, that tended to believe all those lies of the Cuban government and the things that they put out, I'd be talking about my album, and inevitably Cuba would rise the topic, and I would tell them exactly what was going on and what I knew was going on there. And of course, they think that we're exaggerating, that that can't be true. You know, they don't realize that in every block there is a family or a snitch. There's a snitch in every block in Cuba that tells the government, oh, this person had food that they're not supposed to have, or this person had 12 people over their house. Recently, something came out, a video actually, of one of the women that had gone protesting, and all of a sudden there's 12 people showing up at her house wanting to talk to her. And the lady that's at the door is very educated, saying, no, there's no reason for you to come inside if one of you wants to come inside and talk. But they were coming to, you know, pressure the woman that had been out protesting. So this is the way that they keep repression on an entire country. They are in every neighborhood with people snitching, controlling, telling. And, you know, the whole educational system is meant for indoctrination. They would question the kids as to what was going on in their homes. You can only get a university degree in what they want you to study, and you have to be a card-carrying member of the Communist Party, or you can't study. Either way, you can't study what you want. All these things, the medical system that supposedly is this fantastic thing. Tourists have access to all these things. Women that are going to give birth have to take their own sheets to the hospital. There's no anesthesia. There's no aspirin. It's crazy.
You know, the main thing I'm so proud about the exile community, because, you know, they've been fighting for so many years. And, you know, something, even in this moment, you see people in the streets in Miami, you know, something, trying to just, you know, give a message of hope to Cuba, even with COVID. You know, I was so, I mean, so proud to see how many, from kids all the way to, you know, like Brigada 2506, so many of these people have been fighting for so many years. And they're still fighting. You see them, they're 90 years old, 80 years old, and they're still fighting for hope. I think this moment is a historical moment. I hope, you know, we get help from a lot of countries to support, you know, something freedom, because realistic, you know, it's about time that we make that change. I think the whole thing, like I told you, it's not time for negotiation. This is time to make a deal that they have to leave the country and let Cuban people leave their own country.
Yeah, and not just in Miami, by the way. We thank the world for the manifestations being done all over in support of Cuban people and this, you know, the dissidents and the San Isidro movement that started this situation months back. And we're really appreciative of everyone that's not Cuban that has supported this cause.